Let's pop over and do a little bit of a spotlight because I love that you were able to hop in today. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Uh, I love to start with how people got into the field because it's almost a misnomer to say a traditional path into IT or security. Like there's common trends, but unsurprisingly, an industry that has to do with like finding backdoors and loopholes doesn't have one standard way that folks get into it. So what got you into IT and then into InfoSec and I guess, in an industry that can sometimes burn us out, what keeps you in it? What keeps you passionate
Ooh,
about it?
that's a lot of questions. Man, going back to my first tech job was in 95. So I'm about 30 years in my career here. And it's just, I liked computers. I loved technology. It was just a passion. And then I discovered people would pay me for it, because I didn't want to work anywhere else. So I got out of high school and literally just went to every computer store in the yellow pages because, this is the pre-Google era, and just knocked on the door and said, can I work here? And eventually ended up landing a job. I worked sales when they first let me in. They said, what do you know? And well, out of high school, not much other than I like computers. So I worked some sales jobs. Eventually they said, you're not a great salesperson. We're going to put you over at the tech bench. And I was like, that's where I wanted to be anyways. So they just kind of put my career up on moving forward to eventually working for some corporate enterprise places to leaving there in 2003 and starting my tech company. So now that's 23 years ago now that I started my company. So it's been a while. It turns out I'm better working it for myself than I am for others. So
That's amazing and happy 30-year anniversary. I can't remember which anniversary that is, but you should definitely get yourself whatever that is for a
yeah, whatever
gift.
that is for 30, it's
Yeah,
crazy to think about it. I asked myself, what do I do if I didn't do this? I was talking to my wife about that. I'm like, it'd be weird because I've had not singular career in tech because tech is such a broad term, especially now. You're a specialist in one or another. The security stuff has always interested me, mostly on the hacker side, because my first hacker conference was 2002. So, yeah, I was just at the Hope conference in New York. I just got back from that Monday. I got to meet people that were at the same hacker conference I was 20 years ago, which was also really
that's so
cool to talk to.
cool.
I was like, you were at the Rubicon conference in Michigan in 2002. And he's like, yes, I was. And it became a discussion point. So I was like, this is cool.
That's amazing. And then obviously you've got a very active channel on help folks understand new technology, doing reviews of different technology that IT admins may benefit from, a lot of tutorials and education. I think the most common scenario is that folks are just kind of struggling to keep up with all the hats they have to wear.
Yes.
How did you get interested in and dive into helping other admins and professionals keep up and develop their skill set?
When I got into Linux, I was an early adopter, all into open source, and it was going to they used to call them the install fests, and they used to do them once a month where we would drag our desktops, because laptops were a thing that only rich people had back then. We drag our desktops over to the meetup and we would help each other install. Well, I was on the helping side in the beginning, and later I became the helper because there's this fun sense of discovery. I got the X window working, because that was, after you load your 5 Red Hat floppies, and then discover that the cursor doesn't work unless you do a bunch of magic to figure out how serial mice work. But there's a sense of discovery you have in newness. And I think there's an equal amount, and especially for me, of wanting to teach someone else, like, look what I found, like show and tell. So that kind of evolved into me doing presentations there, to me doing lots of public speaking over the years. And it also sharpens your skills to try to teach someone something or present on any topic. You end up diving deeper into it and you become better at it, because you don't want to know just what buttons to press and what commands to go forward. You want to know why those commands, because you're afraid someone in the audience might ask. So you end up with this extra deep learning path. And that eventually led to someone saying, can you put this video on you? Can you put this talk on YouTube? And I said, probably. And it was a firewall talk at an open source conference. And turns out a lot more people watched that video than were at the conference. And I was like, there's a thing here. and there's a demand for this type of content. So I just started doing more and more firewall videos and expanding out from there to all the different tutorials I have. Any given moment, there's usually around 1,800 published videos. I published a lot more, but as a new one comes out, like one I'm making today is going to replace one. So there will be no change, just be a new version because the software is new and there's no reason to keep the old one. So I actually remove hundreds of videos as they age out or get replaced. So I've done several thousand videos, but over the last since 2017, since I built a studio and said this is what I'm going to do is publish videos, I've kind of pruned them over time.
Okay, that's incredible. Being totally daunted with trying to do a comprehensive content review for Blumira coming up, I think the one in, one out at least rule is a great strategy to work from. And I think you touched on something there that is good for the audience to know. I think that it's really common as you start to move around in your career and learn new things to feel like, well, I know a little bit about this thing and a little bit about this thing, and I have this other experience outside of tech, but there's so many other folks that know so much more. And it's that combination of being extroverted, being able to help folks understand deep technical concepts, and having that passion for tech yourself, you were really able to build out a niche for yourself. And so I just want to remind folks, like, when we have that feeling of imposter syndrome, remember it's not this little circle of what you know and a giant circle of everybody else. It's all overlapping Venn diagrams for everyone. And that intersection of the weird bits of information that you know from your very unique career path can be invaluable over the course of your career.
Tom, you pointed out something awesome, and Zoe, you're chatting about it now. You said, you're worried that you're going to be asked a question that you might not know the answer to, so you dig deeper. I think that like is a source of anxiety for a lot of people, maybe especially in tech, because you just want to be, well educated, smart, maybe not the smartest in the room, but you don't want to get stumped on those things. So, what's like some advice you would give to someone who maybe wants to do a talk or a webinar and they're nervous about presenting that information without knowing every little aspect of that
I,
thing?
I would say have some humility, like just be willing to say I don't know, but I will look that up for you. Email me after the conference. I still say that because there's a game people play that want to call you out, or how could you just there's the person that sometimes will be in the audience that does that. I got over the fear pretty quick because I'm just willing to say I don't know. It's something I think a lot of techs should really do. We want to be confident, we want to be right, and we think we don't know, someone will think less of us. And I've tried to like break any of my technicians, like that's the answer to the customer. If you don't know when you're going to solve the problem, tell them I'm working on it, I'm going to get you information later. Don't make an empty promise. Just do that because you know you can accomplish that. You may not know how long it will take to solve this problem. And it applies to your public speaking. I did get a good tip one time, though. We tend to ramble as technical people, and there's the anti-notes. If you're taking notes, it says, don't touch this topic on this slide. Like, there's the bring up these topics. Don't talk about this because, it'll send you in there. Like, don't address this or avoid those. That was an interesting tip I got where it kind of keeps you on point because you want to go, oh, this also brings up this, which might be a side quest. And side quests are not ideal for keeping your talk on in concise order of the slides. So those are the two tips. But yeah, just be welcome to say, I don't know. I'm learning this too, and people will still absolutely respect that.
Furiously writing that down in my advice when I'm working with new speakers. That's a fantastic, fantastic note. And so, the whole reason this show exists is to try and help folks keep up with the news that's constantly moving as we're trying to keep up with work. As somebody who talks a lot about the news, I've definitely been a fan of your LinkedIn memes about some of the latest vulnerabilities and the more embarrassing ones to come out that we probably should have seen coming down the road. So where do you get your security news, and how do you stay current on what's changing in the industry? Who educates the educator?
So algorithms drive me crazy. They generally optimize for enragement and engagement, not education. I put as much as possible into an RSS reader. Use whatever one. I prefer Fresh RSS, but use whatever one works for you, makes you happy. There's a million of them out there. But then to make it easier, because an RSS reader just reads news feeds from everywhere, I publish all my news feeds. I suggest people, if they're looking for a starting point in the same discipline that I'm in, of a lot of security news and other topics, I give away what is referred to as an OPML file. So RSS feeds, ingest the actual RSS feed. OPML is the grouping of all those, like all my news sources. So I always keep that up to date. Anytime I add a news source, I just republish it. It's on my GitHub to make it really easy. I have a short URL. I don't know if you have show notes, you want to throw it in there. It's just lawrence.video/cyber news. But yeah, I encourage people and I always get suggestions from people. It's not static. I am not the source of truth on this. Many times people go, "Hey, Tom, did you know about this?" Nope, but I do now. Let's add that one to the list. I also have all my podcasts in there and things as well. There's a lot of good podcasts out there, which can be fun. The podcasts, I like them a lot because we all need to get away from the keyboard, and it's a good time to go for a walk, whatever exercise you want to participate in, put headphones on, go for a walk, and catch up on the security news. You're getting some exercise, you're away from the keyboard, which will focus you better. And so go for a walk and be enraged at whatever egregious thing is happening in whatever CVS 10 comes out.
I love that. I also love that normally our quick tip that goes into the show notes is something that, short and easy, bite size that folks can do in their environment. I think this week it's going to be like touch grass and don't be afraid to submit a talk. And I kind of love that we're going to get to mix it up that way. But absolutely getting the multimodal learning in there and getting the information however works best for you is going to be really
One
important.
more tip that's helped a lot of people because it helps me. People tend to pause, and like I'm doing that on purpose right now, of when they speak. And this is a thing in podcasts. And those of us that have like minds that are kind of going in 20 directions at once, we can get distracted. I've actually helped several friends. If you slowly ramp it up the speed of the podcast where people talk faster, you'll find yourself having to concentrate on it more and you'll get better retention. That has worked amazing for me. I listen. It also gives it a density thing because now I can listen to more podcasts at once, but speeding up people's talk is definitely one of those things that will elevate your focus because you kind of have to concentrate, but that's the point. And then you'll retain the information better. That has just been something I've started doing and it seems to have worked really well. So